One.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Teti, and today I'll be presenting my AP research project titled "Is Reddit a Reliable Investment Guide? A Long-Term Analysis of Sentiment-Driven Stock Strategies." So my research examines the growing role of Reddit in retail investing and whether online sentiment is a reliable guide for stock investment picks. Social media has democratized finance, allowing retail investors to exchange investment ideas and rally behind stocks. Reddit, one of these platforms for social media, and particularly finance subreddits such as r/Wall Street Bets and r/stocks, amplified this trend by creating a community for these retail investors. The literature has proven Reddit to hold some predictive power on stock prices in the short term. However, the long-term predictive reliability has not been thoroughly investigated. This is the research gap I identified and what I used for my project. So my research question asks, can Reddit sentiment reliably guide long-term stock investment decisions? I hypothesized that it cannot. I believe that Reddit sentiment will fail to predict long-term stock prices. Some key terms to keep in mind. First of all, Reddit. Reddit is a very popular social media kind of discussion board platform. It's also highly anonymous. Most people don't present their identities there. Tens of millions of users. Second, sentiment analysis. This is the methodology I used for my research project. And pretty much sentiment analysis, there's a program, and then it uses lexicons or dictionaries. And these lexicons include a word bank, and then the word bank has a corresponding sentiment score for each word. For example, the word profit would be classified as highly positive sentiment and get a score of maybe +1, whereas loss would be classified as highly negative sentiment and be given a score of -1. So the sentiment analysis uses these lexicons, and then it examines a piece of data such as a body of text. It searches for a word. Once it finds the word, it goes into the lexicon, finds the corresponding score, and gives it to the score to the word. Then it does that for the entire body of text, and it gives the entire body of text a sentiment score. And then that can be used to make inferences about the text. Next is Vader. So Vader is a type of a lexicon, and it specializes in social media. Additionally, I used two other lexicons in my study. Second is the Logren-McDonald Dictionary, which specifies in finance terminology. And then the third is a custom lexicon I created to help account for the unique slang and terminology used in the finance subreddits. Because on finance Reddit, it's just such a huge community and unique community of retail investors. They have created so many things that are only there in Reddit. So creating this custom dictionary or lexicon helps account for some of those words that may not be in Vader and the other dictionary. The literature strongly supports Reddit's short-term predictive power. For example, Long and Lucy stated that Reddit can predict the intraday movements of GameStop stock price, ticker symbol GME. Additionally, Buzz and DeMello stated that stocks discussed on r/stocks and r/Wall Street Bets, two very popular finance subreddits, consistently outperformed the market in the short term. Also, some researchers such as Wang and Liu highlight the limitations of sentiment analysis. For example, earlier I stated that it doesn't cover all words. There's so many words, and there's always like new and unique words such as the ones that are present in the finance subreddits. So that has to be considered, and that's why I created the custom sentiment dictionary or the custom lexicon. And then also there's other things such as sarcasm, which is hard to read, and those are some of the limitations of sentiment analysis. All right, so my methodology consists of a 4-phase process. The first is data collection. This is where I will use a software that will go into Reddit and collect all of the posts from my time frame from the multiple subreddits that I will be collecting from. It uses a search query, so I can search by the different things about posts and then also the time frame. Next, I have the sentiment analysis. So then the sentiment analysis software, it will use the data and then it will use the lexicon to give the data a sentiment score, such as positive or negative. Then I'll construct a simulated portfolio. So another step that happens in the sentiment analysis is that it extracts any stock mentions in the text. So for example, there might be one post from March of 2023, and in that post they mentioned the company stock Amazon a couple times. In that post there was many words that showed positive sentiment. So therefore, for that month, that post would be put into Amazon's bucket as a positive post of Amazon. And then at the end of the month, all of the post scores for that stock will be averaged out and weighted, and then we rank all the stocks for that month. So all the stocks that Reddit thought were going to go up, they were highly positive, they'll all have high sentiment scores at the top of the range, and those stocks will be bought in the simulated portfolio. Additionally, the stocks that Reddit had the lowest sentiment for that month, the bottom 10%, we will short those in the short portfolio. And those are the two portfolios that will be created. Then the portfolios rebalance monthly, and then we will compare the performance with market benchmarks and then also some risk adjusted ratios. So for the data collection, it consisted of 3 main subreddits. We have r/stocks, r/investing, and r/security analysis. Then also, if you didn't know, a subreddit is just a niche community within Reddit that members can join. So they all have their separate names, and that's what they talk about with their names. I had to exclude Wall Street Bets because it was very image heavy. And although it's very possible in the near future, my sentiment analysis program does not analyze images, so I had to exclude them. But the time frame for the study is January 1st, 2022 to January 1st, 2025, 3 years. Additionally, I collected the top over 1,000 posts from each subreddit. It was a total of about 3,500 posts, and what it means by the top post is the highest engagement. So on Reddit, similar to other social medias, there's likes and dislikes, except they're called upvotes and downvotes. So the post from this time frame with the highest amount of upvotes, which I believe is most representative of Reddit's overall sentiment for that period, those posts with the highest amount of likes or upvotes, those are what was collected. It wasn't the ones that only like 10 people saw. And so that's going to help with generalizing to the whole of Reddit's opinion. Additionally, 260,000 comments from these posts were collected. So that's an average of about, there was a couple hundred comments collected from each post. And what I could do with these comments is see if there was any contradicting sentiment from the original post. Because if the original post was highly positive on a stock, but then all the comments, which got upvotes too, many upvotes, were differing, then that can be averaged out and resolved so that there's no skewed evidence. So as I mentioned earlier, I use engagement-weighted sentiment. So if a post has 10,000 upvotes, which is highly common for the ones I collected, those would be weighed a lot higher when creating the stock's monthly sentiment than the posts with maybe 500 upvotes. And then also there was monthly ranking by percentile. So all the posts for each month were grouped. Then in that month they were grouped by stocks mentioned. Then the sentiment score was calculated through both engagement and actual score. And then here are the three models I used. Vader, which specializes in social media. The Logram McDonald, which specializes in finance terminology. And then the custom Reddit lexicon I created to help with any slang terms. So as you can see here, here's how the portfolio was constructed. We have the stock's monthly sentiment score, and they're all ranked. The top 10% are bought in the long portfolio, and the bottom 10% are shorted in the short portfolio. These are then combined, and they're also balanced monthly. I got all pricing data from Yahoo Finance. So here are the results. Here in the blue is the Reddit portfolio, and then the orange is the S&P 500, and this is over the 3-year period. As you can see, lots of volatility in the Reddit portfolio, but ultimately it ended at around 60% of its original value. Well, the S&P 500 stands at about 1.27x its original value, which is about 70% difference here, suggesting that a massive underperformance by the Reddit portfolio. Additionally, we have the separated results of the long and short portfolio. As you can see in the beginning here, the short portfolio did have a lot of returns, but then we're just straight down from there. And long portfolio, a little bit of the opposite story, but they all met at the end level. So here we have some risk analysis of the portfolio. So here we have two risk-adjusted ratios. So the Sharpe ratio, it describes how much return you're getting for every unit of risk you take on. So is the returns that you're getting from this potential investment worth it for the amount of risk you take on? And any number between like above 1 is usually good for the Sharpe ratio. But as you can see, negative value is not good. It means it's not getting our value for the risk we're taking on. So that shows that Reddit portfolio is not doing very good. So why it failed? This first one, the efficient market hypothesis, is that all information that is public is already priced into the stock. So Reddit information is public because it's coming from the public. So they're saying that all the information that they're talking about and trying to see if they should invest, that's already priced into the stock, which eliminates some value. Additionally, emotional investing equals poor returns. So when you're doing social trading, there's a heightened behavioral biases. For example, a really big one is herd mentality. Just everyone following something kind of blindly without any actual information backing it. And this is something that can be seen a lot on Reddit because Reddit rewards hype, not accuracy. Because the posts that get shown to more people are the posts that gain the public's attention, and these may not be the most accurate posts. Additionally, this leads to ethical concerns since Reddit is rewarding posts that have hype and not accuracy, the misinformation is rampant. And this harms retail investors since that's almost all of Reddit's user base. Additionally, there is a kind of joking and meme culture around some of these investment subreddits, which blurs it with entertainment, and that cannot be good because there's a lot of people in there that are novice investors and they're trusting this information when they shouldn't be. It's not accurate. So limitations is that there was no image analysis, which I had to exclude Wall Street Bets from, which is the main image one, and that can definitely be addressed in future research. Additionally, the sentiment analysis does miss sarcasm sometimes, so this could be improved in future research as well with improved models. And then also a smaller data set due to Pro API, which is the program that I use to collect the Reddit data. If I had more time, I would have been able to apply for access to some improved data collection methods, but it was just not in the time frame. So the conclusion is that Reddit sentiment is not a reliable long-term investment guide due to its high volatility and poor returns. Additionally, it is not suited for novice investors as they are less likely to identify any misinformation or something that's not accurate. Future research, image tracking, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, real-time tracking and like collecting posts as they come out and then tracking over a long period in the future, that can also be beneficial. And then behavioral finance, understanding why this is happening, why these groups of Reddit people are not having the best investment opinions. Here's my works cited page. And thank you.
All right. How did your initial exploration of the scholarly conversation lead to your final research question project goal?
So yeah, when I was searching for sources and anything in the field, there was a lot of studies about kind of day trading using not just Reddit, but also Twitter and that information. It's tracking real-time sentiment, like within minutes, getting those posts and getting the sentiment score, and then using that to make trades like on the day. And that was like, very short-term stuff, and that's not usually not the best way to invest your money. It's more of over the long term, thinking over a long term. So this was kind of taking those short-term sentiment things and inspired me to turn it into a long-term approach.
How does your new understanding address a gap in the scholarly conversation?
See, as I mentioned, with a lot of the sources focusing on that short-term kind of day trading aspect of sentiment analysis, this research expands it to years of period, whereas most of those other studies go on for maybe a month, and that's just trading every day. So when information comes out, they just go and make the trade right away. This study, it takes it and does monthly intervals instead of these daily, hourly intervals in other studies. Monthly intervals over a 3-year period, which allows for a lot longer, wider approach.
What was the most important research skill you developed as a result of this process, and how might you apply it to your future endeavors?
So the most important research skill I developed was learning to push through problems, because this research used a lot, like I had to develop a whole new skill set for this, working with Python and coding in these softwares that I've never seen before in my life. And I experienced a lot of difficulties, a lot of plans I had to change, and just like learning to be able to push through that and keep searching for new solutions until it works. That I think is something that's going to be very helpful to all aspects in life, especially research.